What's up? Welcome to another episode of Bitches Love Sports. I'm your host, Jazz Monet, and I completely intended to have an intro ready for Osa before bringing him on the screen, but we're here
So
now.
good.
So, my bad. I'm gonna get used to this whole process of adding guests to the stage. But thank you for joining me on such short notice. I
Of
appreciate you being
course.
here.
Appreciate you having me. I feel like we had a good conversation yesterday. It was worth continuing, especially when it comes to like anime and stuff like that too. So
A
figure it'll
hundred
be
percent.
enjoyable.
Speaking of which, I remember us talking about anime-inspired clothing lines. So, two things. One, this I got from Box Lunch. I don't know if you've heard of them,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, this is a Hidden Leaf jersey.
Yeah.
It says Uzumaki on the back. So, if you haven't checked out Box Lunch, they have like standalone stores. Well, no, most of their stores are in malls. They have stores in malls and they have a bomb ass website. But the clothing line I was thinking of yesterday, or the one I was trying to think of, is called Anime Gear Guru. They make really high quality jackets. They're dope. All right. So for anyone who is not aware of who is joining me today, we've got I hope I say your last name right because I've heard it said like five different ways. Osa Odighizuwa, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So defensive tackle of the Dallas Cowboys, drafted in 2021. I don't know if you want me to start reading off your stats, but you can add anything else that you want to add to that.
Nah, that's
Also,
all good. That's about it.
you have a foundation that's doing some really good things right now, yeah?
I do. It's called the Odighizuwa Foundation, and we're helping single parents. That's our main mission, just helping our single parents any way that we can. Just try and make sure that they're supported and appreciated.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit more about that, if that's okay, because that's like a very different type of foundation than the kinds I've heard of before. So, is it like a type of funding that y'all provide or some other kind of support?
I mean, typically, like we did like a toy drive, so we're asking like kids what they want for Christmas this last year. Turkey drive, just trying to help out in ways that we can, just support with like resources and things like that. And then as we like the future, the plan that I see like is just starting to be able to fund and like give scholarships and stuff like that. We've done programs in Portland where we're kind of helping with trade or some type of like job program. That way we can kind of help with career paths and just build like a self sufficiency in that sense. Just try and help
Wow,
them segue into like better paying jobs and stuff.
that sounds dope. So it sounds like a lot of the things that people take for granted, but that single parents really have a hard time doing. I To me, it's impressive to even think enough about single parents in that way to create a foundation that does specifically those things. So props to you.
Me and my brothers were raised by a single mother. Me and my three older brothers, so it's something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Wow, that's amazing. I bet your mom is super proud.
Yeah, she's proud, and then she's also a huge reason why we do it. Like the main reason why we started the whole foundation is because of her, and like that's something that she can get involved in with too because it's got our last name on it. Kind of that was the whole point. It's just kind of like get the whole family involved in doing something good and giving back.
Nice. So does she direct a lot of the initiatives that y'all have? Bless you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, she does a lot. She's super involved. She's like the current like pretty much head of the foundation. That's
Mhm.
what she does. You know, so
Okay.
she's very involved with that.
Well, if anybody's looking for any more information on that, just go to Google, type in Odighizuwa Foundation, and you can find out all about everything that they're doing and how you can support it. Nice. And if you're wondering how to spell Odighizuwa, it's in the title of the video. So copy paste. All right.
Yeah. Are you
So
gonna?
let's talk a little bit
You,
about the event that we were, huh?
my bad. You about to post this later?
It's live.
Oh gosh, I was gonna say if you're gonna post it later, I'll send you the link so that you could
Oh, I
attach
can
that
edit
to
it
it or
later. I
something
can
like
add
that.
the link.
Oh, bet.
Yeah, shoot it to me, and I'll just put it in the caption.
Okay, cool. Appreciate you.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the event where we met yesterday. So it was called Trench Warfare. and it was a training clinic for high school level offensive linemen and defensive linemen, run by Coach Brandon Tucker, who he's really starting to get his name out. He's been doing what he's doing for years, but it feels like it's just now that he's starting to like really promote himself. I'm glad that he is because I think the work that he's doing is great. But I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think is the significance of professional players like yourself showing up to events like that and supporting the kids who have to be there?
I mean, for one, it just shows them like the credibility of a guy like Coach Tuck because he's training people at the highest level. So that's just added credibility for him. Gets a little bit more eyes on there and just a little bit more exposure to the camp, which is a good thing, and it'll draw more kids to the camp, which is more kids that he's going to be able to help. And then, I was there the first day too before they started doing one-on-ones, and I was able to kind of give input and coach and just drop knowledge on the kids too, which is also super important because again, we're at the highest level. So to be able to impart some of the knowledge that we've gained to get to this point where we're at is super important because we wouldn't have gotten to this point without someone dropping knowledge on us. So it's important to be able to, pay it forward and just give back a little bit.
So did you go to camps like that when you were younger?
I mean, I would say I went to too many, but like I would have if I had a little bit more time. I only went to like two or three really, and then I just did like local stuff. Like we had a camp at my high school every year. Um, Definitely would have been good to get some of the knowledge earlier on because like I didn't really learn too much about like even flipping my hips and like the technique of pass rush until like my senior year of high school and like once I got to college, I had to learn a lot and like play a lot of catch up.
So you started learning that your senior year, played catch up in college. At what point was it that you felt like you really started to get it down? Or do you feel like that's something that you're still working on a little bit?
Um, it's definitely something I'm still working on. Speaking of mom, she just came and gave me a little piece of. I'm in a podcast right now.
Oh, is that your mom?
She just gave me a little piece of this Nigerian snack called suya. I'm spoiled. I think I
So
told you
what
yesterday.
is that? What is this snack?
It's the spice called suya. It's like I don't know if it's like one particular spice, but it's like a blend of seasonings that you could put on like any type of protein, and they typically make it into like skewers.
Hmm.
So I had some like a couple steaks, and she cut up the steaks into like little pieces and tossed them in the spice and threw them in the oven. So I got like a little snack for when I'm done. She just wanted me to get a little taste test. My
See, for
stuff
some
is.
people, that's a whole meal. You're like, yeah, a couple of steaks chopped up, a little snack.
I mean, I'm not gonna eat it all at once.
I dig it. What were we talking about? We were talking about coaches and passing on knowledge and you figuring out, or the process that you've gone
Mm.
through of figuring out like some of your movement techniques.
I would say, I mean, I had like good balance naturally. I was always like athletic for, I would say, my size and my position. Had good low pad level, good leverage as being like an undersized guy. So once I was able to get like kind of hand fighting down, like learn how to run the hoop and flip my hips, a lot of it came like a little bit more naturally, and then from there you just start, just got to get repetitions at it. Um, Definitely started to feel a little bit more natural. Like the more I worked on it, just spending extra time on it. So I would say like it took me a while. I'm not gonna lie. It was. I would say I started to get it down like spring of
Hmm.
my freshman year a little bit. Um, that was when I could kind of start to feel things start to come together a little bit, and then from there just really be. I wouldn't say I've mastered it just yet, but like a level of just knowledge was able to get built just from the reps that I would take because I would start just working on it more and more and putting more time into the older I got because I realized like yo this is what I want to do, this is I want to go to the NFL, and that was always what I had in mind, but like after each year, I realized there's like another level of work that I could put in when it comes to it, and just making it become more natural and more instinctive, so I wouldn't have to think about it.
Part of the reason why I asked that question is because the draft just happened, right? And there's been a lot of talk about player development and how some people are like really excited about the upside of certain players. And there are some people who are like, well, no, we need to just look at the film and then whatever that says, that's how we should like value the player. And I'm just like, I feel like there are a lot of people who come into the league. If everybody, right? Like actually now that I think about it, pretty much everybody goes into the NFL needing some level of development. And it's just interesting to me how quickly a lot of people seem to expect that process to happen. Do you ever feel
Um,
like there are just like unrealistic expectations put on you, or like the evaluation of your play is a little bit unfair?
I mean, everyone develops at different speeds. Some guys it takes a little bit longer. Some guys will get it down faster. Um, I definitely see what you mean by like upside, because it can take a couple of years for a guy. Because there's some people in the league that started playing when they got to the league. Like there's people that didn't start playing football until like college. You know what I mean? Like until like junior year of college, or like like didn't start playing until like senior year of high school, and they just have like the raw talent of an athlete, and the coach is like, I can work with that. You know what I mean? And that has that's valuable in itself, because there's people like, I mean, people go in the first round off of raw talent, and if you can raw talent your way into the first round, like there's a ton of upside, because it's like you don't even have the full picture of the technique and the things that are going to be able to take you to the next level, but you just are that athletic to where they're like, I need you on my team, you know? So
And I think you've seen some
definitely,
examples of that this year.
hmm I think Guyton, the guy that we got, actually, I don't know. From what I think I heard something about him not playing. He started as a D lineman, and then has only been playing O line for a few years, but just off of the talent, you know what I mean, and like the body,
Mhm.
like the size and just the length and everything. Like he's a first round draft pick. So there's a lot of upside there, because we have good coaches, we have really good vets and guys that will be able to teach him a lot of game, and like, you know what I mean? With that, you have a lot of upside, because he's going to be able to develop into a really good player.
Right. As you were talking about people who can raw talent their way into the first round, actually, the person who came to my mind actually was Guyton, because that was one of the most interesting things to me about his story was learning that one, he started off as a basketball player in high school, and then he basically had to be convinced after suffering an injury to try football, and then yeah, was a D lineman, and then eventually went to O line. So in terms of learning the technique for what he's going to be doing, yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, but he seems really ready to do the work. Just from listening to him talking to me about his mindset, I'm actually like really excited. But when it
I
comes to
mean,
the draft and new players being taken in, like I really do think what you hit on about like what coaches see in terms of raw talent, I really think that plays a big role because I think a lot of times it really just comes down to what do the coaches see and what do they feel like they can do with it, and it's not always just about is this player actually a good player? Like there's no absolute definition of that. It's just like who is watching it and what can they see.
yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have the talent or the ability to, you know what I mean, if you're not athletic enough, you're probably not going to make it to the NFL. Like, there's got to be a level of just God given talent that you have that's gotten you to this point. You know what I mean? And then there's people that have like built it in the lab, you know. But even then, there's still a level of talent there that they developed and crafted and worked on. But yeah, like as a coach, knowing if you're confident in your ability to teach the game, like an athlete would make it exciting. You know what I mean? Because it's like, yo, like once if I can get this guy right, like they see the potential that the athlete themselves might not see. And like I said, if you're confident in your ability to teach the game, like the upside that's there and the potential that you could tap into, especially knowing like coaches that have been at it for a while, they can look at a guy and compare their body type to another player's body type that they've seen before. So, you know, I like one of the things that I've noticed is that like people don't really find new things under the sun that kind of replace what's worked for them in the past. So I feel like that's what a lot of coaches do is like they'll try and find something that's similar to a guy that they've had in the past that they really liked or someone that was really successful, and they'll kind of one, give you a lot of film and cut us on who you should watch and stuff like that. And if you got good vets that are going to be able to help teach and just make it a little bit easier for the coach too, like if you got a good environment, a good culture, then the guy's going to be able to put in the work. He's going to be willing to put in the work, and if they got the good mindset, like it's going to make it that much easier to get them up to speed. You know.
Absolutely. Speaking of coaching, so we've got a new coach coming in this year on the defensive side, Coach Zim. And we talked about him a little bit yesterday. And one of the things that you mentioned was that you're expecting more structure than what you had under Dan Quinn. And so, just for me, especially considering what you just said in terms of how some coaches will kind of think about players they've had in the past and try to do things based on that. Do you have any expectations so far, or have you just heard enough to know that you're like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a different situation in terms of structure?
I mean, that's just what I've heard. To be honest, like heard he's a little bit more old school. That's really about it. Um,
Is that exciting to you?
I mean, I don't really think anything of it. Like I was saying, like I'm just trying to win. Whatever the environment turns into, if it's conducive to winning,
So
I'm
when you
with
said
it.
as long as y'all have the same goal, you're good. That's what you're referring to, just winning in general.
hmm Obviously, like we want to have fun, but winning is probably one of the most fun things that you could do in football. So if we're winning, then we're going to be having a great time. You know?
I get it. Speaking of winning, though, I feel like one of the ways that we got on that topic was via one of our mutual favorite topics, which is anime. We were talking about shonen yesterday, and one of the things that's been really interesting to me from being an anime fan who's also doing this sports podcast is just like all the parallels between the things that shonen protagonists will go to in order to excel, and some of the things that athletes will go through in order to get better at what they do. Is that something that like ever inspires you, or is like anime more of just like a pastime, something that's entertaining for you?
Um, I would say it's more of a pastime and something that's entertaining. I have inspiration just from everywhere. I do draw the parallels a lot, and that makes it a little bit more relatable. Can kind of make it more interesting to watch and just kind of give you goosebumps as you're watching things because it's like, dang, like he's working so hard to get to the point where you know what I mean, where he can overcome all these obstacles. He has all the doubt that he's dealing with and whatnot, just like I do, but he's still working just like the same regardless. So I guess it is kind of inspiring, you know. Um, but there's so many parallels that you could just draw through anime and just like the protagonists and what they go through and like the struggles that you go through as an athlete. I would say I guess my reason the inspiration I wouldn't say it's inspiring in a way, but like for me, it's a little bit more entertainment based, just because like I'm like, oh wow, I can relate to that, it just makes it that much more interesting to watch.
So yesterday you said you've been watching Jobless Reincarnation, right?
Yeah.
I tried to start watching it. I just didn't have time today, so my bad. But I am gonna catch it. Um, but what was it that drew you to that one? Like out of everything that's out right now, why is that the one that you're watching consistently?
It was suggested to me by a friend. I just thought it was interesting. The whole concept of like reincarnation and getting like a second chance at life is cool, and then come to find out, it's like one of the older of the genres of isekai, which is like getting transported to another world by way of reincarnation or just getting teleported somewhere, like stuck in a game or something like that. Um, and it was just cool. The concept doesn't really skip out on like any of the mundane things that he does to get better at like magic and like what he ends up being good at and just like battle. He doesn't fight a bunch, but like dude is practicing like daily and whatnot and has like just a ton of upside and like potential. And I ended up reading it ahead, so I know like where it's gonna go. So this is like one of the first ones that I ended up reading too. It's just very entertaining. Um, it was just, and the animation was pretty good. Got some good opening themes. Like I felt like it was pretty enjoyable overall. Um, that's just like one of the ones that I'm watching because I've been watching it since I was at UCLA. So I'm
Oh, I
still,
didn't even realize it'd been out that long.
yeah, it's been out. It's been out for over 4 years. Came out in 2020, so I've been watching it for a while.
I noticed it
Um,
only has 2 seasons. Are they making more, or is it one of those where the manga just keeps going and the show kinda ends?
they took a long break. They dropped like half of season one, took a year, dropped the second half of season one, and then it took like 2 years to start dropping season two. Yeah,
Okay.
they took like 2 years to start dropping season two, so it took like a fat minute to be honest, and so that's why they're just now dropping like the second half of season two. Um, and then Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War arc. Been watching that. That
Yeah.
one's pretty good too. Bleach is my all-time favorite anime
Mine
ever.
too.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's dope.
It's so earlier we were talking and I was telling you how like I started watching Dragon Ball and then whenever I got older and started to get into other anime, it was a lot of shonen because the people who were recommending anime to me, it was a lot of shonen. And
Yeah.
I feel like Naruto was entertaining, right? But Bleach was the first one that I just like really, really got into the story and the characters. The world building in that one, phenomenal. All the different layers of the concepts and how they're relatable to just real
Hmm.
world situations, phenomenal. And then just the diversity of the characters. I don't know how many people take that into consideration. And yes, I do like seeing
Yeah.
black characters, and they have some dope ass black characters, right? But it
Yeah.
wasn't even just that they're black. It's that there were so many different kinds. Like, I feel like in a lot of shonen, you start to see the same characters over and over again. In the main character, in the side characters, and the antagonist, like you start to see the same themes. And Bleach was one of the first ones where I was like, these characters are really different. Like,
Hmm.
why is Yoruichi always running around naked? Like, why is that okay? And like, what is the deal with like these girls who are obsessed with Orihime? Um, and just like all the different Iran like they all have different personalities. Like,
And the
I,
theme music, the
yes, the music.
soundtrack,
Oh my God,
the
the music
fashion of the
in Bleach
characters, they
is
actually
so.
change outfits and they got drip on. Like I was like, wow, like it's just cool. It's like one of the coolest from like top to bottom. It's just one of the coolest shows. I wouldn't say like story wise, it's competing with like a Naruto. I think Naruto story wise from beginning to end probably one of the greatest stories ever told. Bleach is just like one of the coolest, just overall concepts, and just it's just so dope.
Hold on, I'm about to agree with you, and then I'm gonna disagree with you. I agree with you on Bleach. The concepts are dope, and I can't believe I forgot to bring up music as I was talking about everything I like about that show.
The
To this
music,
day, to this day, Bleach is like one of my favorite shows to do group cosplay with. Just because like the different, like I have, uh, what is her name? Dang it, I cannot remember names. I know I'm doing Francisca
I think I
Rose.
seen you do
Uh,
Nell.
yes, yes. Neliel, I have her and Francisca Rose. And then yeah, we'll get into it later. I'll send you pictures. But we've done some really dope Bleach cosplays, and the music is bomb. But I need to understand why you think the storyline of Naruto is better.
Um, I think just in terms of like, I think there's gems about like, not to say there's not gems about life in Bleach. I think that one is really about like resolve and just like, you know what I mean, just
Mhm.
about belief in yourself. And that's really ultimately what it comes down to is Ichigo like believing in his own power and trusting his own power and like realizing that he is strong enough to like defeat any obstacle, you know. But like Naruto is just cool because in terms of story, like he has every reason to go down the wrong path, every reason to end up being like, just a complete bum and just hated by the village, like could end up being like a huge troublemaker or even like, you know what I mean, a villain, to be honest. But he overcomes all those obstacles and like he never gives up on his dream. Like he never changes up his ways. Like, you know what I mean? And he sticks to like his morals through it all. And he even convinces like some of the villains along the way and like gets them to change their heart, right? And then just some of the gems that are dropped in like some of the speeches is like, dang, like that, like you could really think about that and like apply it to your life. You know what I mean? Like,
So you're a fan of the Talk No Jutsu.
actually, I'm not gonna lie. Like, and I watched it. Like, I had a greater appreciation of it. Um, even like because I watched it like the full thing. I had seen it growing up, but then like during the pandemic, I just sat down and like really watched it like from beginning to end, like through Shippuden, and like even just the way they explain the concept of friendship, and then you can kind of go back and look at why Sasuke avoids ties and why Naruto uses them like to become stronger is because like Sasuke's like, why are you doing all this for me? And Naruto's like, because you're my friend. He's like, bro, what even is that? What even is a friend? He's like, I don't know. I just know whenever I saw you in pain, I felt pain too, right? So then when you think about it, and I've actually, and that was like extremely relatable because like when you care about someone so much, like you do feel their pain. It hurts you when you see them going through struggles and when you see them hurting, right? And then you think about that, and that's what Sasuke was trying to avoid. That is that extra pain because he felt like it was a weakness, right? But Naruto just embraces it all, and it's like the love and realizing that it's bigger than me, like gives me so much more to fight for. You know what I mean? And it, like he has more reasons why, and there's even more motivation to never give up because there's so many people dependent on him and people that he loves and people that he's trying to protect. You know, and then just like the fact that the dude, he really didn't have any talent. He had just a lot of chakra. Obviously, he had potential. He had nothing but potential,
I
really.
I would actually say he had some talent because like the jutsu that he came up with on his own, he executed very well. He needed guidance. I think, to connect back to what we were talking about earlier, he's one of those guys who like kind of raw talented his way into the upper echelon of ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that makes sense too. I'm like, I would say he definitely had the talent. The talent. It was definitely raw. That makes a lot more sense because he had all the chakra, and you know what I mean. He just really needed how like to learn how to control them and become like more skilled. But he had the mindset of like never giving up, and you know what I mean. And he was able to catch up because he had that mindset. He worked so hard, and he was like putting in the work consistently, right? And yeah, I just think the whole show was dope, especially when you just like as an athlete, the consistency, the training, the never giving up through all the doubts, the ups and downs, um, and just staying true to like your goals, and then him achieving that goal, you know, at the end of
Yeah,
the show and becoming
he
the
did become
Hokage,
Hokage.
that like that's so dope, especially just like, and you get to see him grow up from being 12 to the time like he's 16. Like, I feel like there's not too many shows that like do that. Besides like maybe One Piece, you get to see them all grow up too. But
Yeah.
I just felt like that one is just like, as an athlete, is extremely, extremely relatable, you know, and
I
I
feel like
could
I need
definitely
to find if they
appreciate
have
it.
one of these in like a 6X and bring it to you. Like you should definitely have one of these in your closet.
Bleach, though, the story, I mean, looking back on it, it's a pretty good story. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I can't draw as many parallels between athletes as Bleach. You did help me think about one with like the darkness, the power that he has inside of him that he is kind of afraid of at first and kind of learns to accept like as the show goes on and like accepts as a part of him is like there is a part of you that does enjoy battle because you're strong, and you
Right.
have to embrace that.
You want to know what actually made me think of that? So, Kobe Bryant, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but he had this thing that he was trying to do with puppets, where I think he was trying to teach kids about motivation, but it was a little bit too intense for most people to show their kids. But
Mhm.
in one of the episodes, he talks about what he referred to as the Garfield case, and he talked about how he basically was sometimes really motivated by negative criticism and by people not believing in him, and how he would use that for fuel. Um, and I connected that to stories that I heard about not only him but people like Michael Jordan, for example, who kind of had just different reasons for wanting to be great at what they did than what most people would expect. Like, I think a lot of times whenever people think of star athletes and the people that they admire, they think of all the things that you just mentioned. Like, this person wants to be great. They want to be remembered. They want to build a legacy. And Michael Jordan was like, well, yeah, all that stuff is cool. But when I first started getting good at basketball, it was because I wanted girls to notice me. So it was this kind of like selfish, almost dark side of his character. And so it's like to use your own ego, to use lust, to use arrogance in some cases are all things that people would consider to be like negative. Like you shouldn't lean into those things, you know? And I guess that was the message that I started to get from Bleach, especially you remember the scene where he is like actually trying to figure out how to use his hollow side, and he actually ends up talking to his hollow self, like inside his own mind.
Hmm.
Do you remember that whole scene? The whole
Yeah.
what's the difference between a horse and a king? Yeah.
Hmm.
So and do you remember the answer?
I don't remember the answer.
The answer was killer instinct.
Oh yeah.
And so essentially through that whole battle, Ichigo was learning, like, yeah, the fact that I want to save my friends and I want to do all these good things is great. But at some point, if I'm going to go and face people who want to kill me, I got to learn how to be a killer. But
Yeah.
I can't be a killer like this guy. My hollow side wants to be a killer. I have to learn how to rein that in because his hollow side was like, if you don't learn how to control this power, I'm going to take over and I'm going to kill you. And he was like, he was trying to like call upon his Zanpakuto and he couldn't do it. And his hollow side was like, "Oh, you thought that power came from you? No, that power came from me, and you've been
Yeah.
using me to access that power, and now you can't, like, you cannot do this without me." So it wasn't like, "Let me reject my dark side, let me put it away." It was like, "No, let me understand that this exists and figure out how to use it because that's where I get my power from. And I can't reject it. I've got to learn how to control it. I've got to learn how to use this thing that scares people, to use this thing that could hurt people, to actually accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish." And I just thought that was like such a deep message because I feel like so many people have decided themselves that they're like, I don't want anybody to know I have these thoughts. I don't want anybody to know I'm motivated by XYZ. I don't want anybody to know that I'm jealous, I have an ego. I'm not going to talk about it. But it's like there are times when we use all of those things to get done
Hmm.
what we need to get done, you know?
And that's crazy because like that was something that I was talking about too. Is like, every athlete has an ego. We got to this point because there's a guy in the back of your head saying like, you're him. You know what I mean? Like you're that guy. You know what I mean? Like, and you might not like expose that all the time, but like you have to have that confidence, whether it be like just that bulletproof confidence, just that at the end of the day, like you're that guy. You're extremely talented. You made it this far because you're very, very talented. You're one of the best. You know what I mean? And don't let anybody tell you different. Don't accept anything else that says any different. You know, and kind of like screw anybody that's saying any different. Anybody that's trying to beat you, they could get it too. Like it's him or me at the end of the day. Because, like I said, there's always a winner and a loser at the end of the day, and it's like you got to do whatever it takes to get on the right side of that.
100%. I 100% agree. Um,
And you have
I
to
don't want
have
to keep
pride in what you
too long.
do.
Huh?
I said, and you have to have pride in what you do. At the end of the day, it's like, you know, if there's little things, there's just like little things on the field that you just can't be okay with and you can't accept happening to you. It's just like, you know, there's like there's definitely a dark side to football. There has to be any combat sport, really, even
100%.
basketball too. But I'd say
A
more
couple
so with
years
like,
ago, I was talking about, I can't remember who I was talking about. It was somebody on the Cowboys. I feel like I might have been talking about Dak, maybe, but it was somebody I was talking about, and I was like, they did like an interview and somebody said, "Dang, like that person almost looks like they might have a little bit of asshole in them." And I was just like, "Well, I feel
good,
like in order to perform on that level, you have to have a little bit of asshole in you. Like there have to be times where you're like, you know what? Fuck the dude on the other side of the field. I don't care what his goals are. I don't care what he's trying to accomplish. Like this is about what I'm trying to do, and I will flat out embarrass him in the process if I have to."
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
what's interesting about that to me is, and I say this also as someone who's played a team sport and it was a contact sport, like it's not even always that you hate that person. You might like we would get off the track and we would go to after parties together and it was fine. But like while we were in between the lines, while the timer was running, while we were trying to get points, it was like fuck you and whatever you're trying to do.
nah,
Like I don't
facts,
care. And if I have to hurt you, well that comes with the sport. We all knew what we were getting into when we
exactly.
stepped onto this track. So
If
if
he
I have to hurt you,
dies,
if I
he
have to embarrass
dies.
you, if I have to make you look bad, if I have to send you to the penalty box, it is what it is because I'm
Hmm.
trying to get points right now.
Exactly. Like,
So
and yeah, that's just really what comes down to. Like, it's him or me at the end of the day, and I know who I'm choosing.
Now, do you think you always had that mindset, or is that something that you developed like later on? Because I was talking to Coach Tucker yesterday about the mindset component of his program, right? And he was like, "Well, there are some things that I just think my high schoolers won't get, but my college level kids will get." So when it comes to like developing that mentality and understanding the difference between somebody you actually have animosity towards versus just having to look at yourself in a certain way and having a certain level of pride in order to perform a certain way. Like, when do you think you really started to grasp that at what point in your development?
I would say by the time I got to college, I already had it because like I was a champion, three-time state champion and two-time national champion in wrestling, right? So I definitely have like a sense of pride in that champion mindset to where it's like, yo, especially because wrestling is just you and him at the end of the day. So like you got to wrestle and you got to impose your will on another man and and beat them, right? And I feel like when you start to take pride in what you do, the animosity just comes out naturally because it's like, yo, this person's trying to stop me from doing what I want to do and being great because they think they're better than me. And then you add the aspect of being an lineman on that. It's all physical. Like, yo, I'm not going to be anybody's bitch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things that you just can't, you cannot accept and you cannot go for. Like, so that just comes out of you naturally because it's like, bro, like at the end of the day, like I said, it's him or me, and he's trying to beat me. Fuck him, you
No,
know.
I dig it. Do you feel like that part of your mindset has evolved at all since college?
I'll say a little bit, just cause like you know, trying to get to that highest pinnacle in the world. Like I feel like it comes with just a little bit more pride in what you do because we're doing it at the highest level. You're doing it in front of a ton of people. You got your family back home watching. There's people that has been watching you this whole time, right? And it's like, yo, when they watch me do what I do, they need to know that like I'm doing it at the highest level. They need to see a great performance every time. When I go back and I watch the film, I need to see a great performance. I don't want to see like any, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
can't be going outside like on the tape or anything like that. So there's definitely a pride because you know that's what they're trying to do to you at the end of the day. And just knowing that pisses me off a little bit, just like before the game, and it's just like, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I know what they're gonna come here and try and do. I'm not going for any of that shit. Like, you know?
Now, with that in mind, I'm really curious. Do you have a preferred way that you like to beat people? Because I hear, like, when I hear people talk about your game, there are some people who like really like seeing you make direct contact, and then there are some people who are like, I want to see them run free more. Like, do you have a preference for like how you like things to go when you're on the field?
I like a little bit of both because if you don't know what you're gonna get, you don't really know what you can prepare for. It's like if I could beat you with power and being physical, then I'm gonna do that. If I could beat you by getting around you, then I'm gonna do that. You know, and the ability to do either or kind of makes it a little bit harder for people to prepare for because they don't know what they're gonna get on any different play. Like if I'm getting a couple like the same block three times and I could have multiple different ways that I could beat that block, they don't really know exactly how to do it or when to do it how they're supposed to because they don't know which way I'm going to use in my arsenal to be able to beat a certain kind of block.
So you don't have a preference for what's like more fun for you.
Winning.
I love it. It always goes back to winning. Kind of like your favorite character is gonna be who always said he was gonna be Hokage one day. It's like having that single mindedness. I dig it.
I'm
Um,
not even. I can't even say Naruto's my favorite. Ichigo is my favorite character
so Ichigo's
because
your
he
favorite
has.
character, but
Because I'm
Naruto's
gonna
your
say,
favorite story.
yeah, because he got like that badass in him. Like he was before he was even like a Soul Reaper. He was catching phase like in the street, just beating people's asses, like just because people were trying to mess with him all the time because of his hair, right? And
Mhm.
so he had to develop that mindset of like, yo, I'm not taking shit from anybody. You know what I mean? So that's probably and the theme music again, like it's just way cooler. This is way cooler. I'm not gonna lie. And like I said, just that confidence and that self belief, that resolve, like you were saying, it's like if you fight, like if you protect, like what Kisuke said to him, like if you protect someone, you don't let them die, right? And if you fight, you better be ready to kill somebody. You know,
Facts.
like just coming down to that resolve and like imposing your will on other people through those fights because at the end of the day they each have their own soul in their hand that they're fighting each other with. If and I've like nerded out on like the meanings of like a zanpakuto. It means a soul cutter, right? But it's not the fact that you're cutting someone else's soul. It's like your soul that you use to cut with. That's how I think of it at least. And then
I feel
when
like that's
the
how
fight
it was explained a
ends,
lot in the anime.
someone and it can I this is just my own theory and what I was thinking, but then I watched Thousand Year Blood War arc last year, and there's an episode at the end of the first part that says I am the blade, right? And that just gave me all the confirmation that I needed.
Mhm.
And and Ichigo said he could always feel the heart of the person that he's fighting, right? And then you watch at the end of a fight like someone's sword always breaks, is because they don't have the will to go on, So it's like just the concept of like willpower and resolve and just like mental fortitude. That's something that I just thought was super dope, especially and that's one of the parallels that I drew with it, is because like as an athlete you have to have that, willpower and that resolve and that confidence, like I'm not taking shit from anybody and I have the ability to get it done.
Do you ever feel that during a game? Like, do you ever reach a point where you're going up against somebody consistently throughout a game and you kind of feel a point where it's like, okay, their will is breaking?
Yeah, for sure. And then that kind of comes back to my wrestling background too, like attrition. That's something that we talked about in wrestling all the time. Um, and it carries over to football too. It's like you can see at the end of a game, like, or you can tell in a point when someone's will is gone, like when a team doesn't have the will to go on, when they've given up. You know,
How can you tell?
you just can. You can just feel the. You can just feel it. You just feel the energy just start to turn, and then it's like you're really just overcoming them, and then it's like you can kind of do whatever you want out there. Not like whatever you want, but it's like you know, you can just have that. You just tell when you got them.
Now, my journalist side says I have to flip that question now and I have to ask, do you ever feel that on your own team? And what do you do when that happens?
Um, can't say that I ever feel it on my own team. Well, can't say that I've ever like really felt it on my own team. I could see times when it's like a little shaky, but I don't give up until the quarters are over. You know what I mean? Until like if they're about to take a knee or something like that and the game is up, it's like okay, that's the game. But like I don't give up on the game until it is done for. Because I've been a part of some of the craziest comebacks in college football history, so I know that if you keep going, there's always a chance. You know, and that's what I believe. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this is facts. So, on that note, so you said Naruto is your favorite show. Ichigo's your favorite character. When we
Bleach
were
is my
talking about
favorite show. Naruto is like one of the best stories ever told. It's great.
okay,
Again,
so Bleach is your favorite show, Ichigo's your favorite character, and you just really like Naruto and draw a lot of inspiration from it.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and also that's part of the reason why I like solo leveling is
Hmm.
because like you can kind of see him have that aura, that like kind of that badass in him, like where he's not really taking shit from anybody. And I was reading the manga, and it was when he like flipped off somebody that was trying to reason with him, right? Because like one of the characters had messed with one of his friends and then was trying to beat him, and he killed him. And someone else was trying to like
I don't think
explain to
I've
him
gotten
like
there yet.
he's like, bro, you don't have to do this. Trying to bargain with him, and he just flipped him off. And I'm like, yes, I screenshotted it. I was like, this guy, he got it. I was like, this is the coolest main character that I've seen in the show since Ichigo.
No, I mean that's pretty dope, especially considering like what you said yesterday that he's doing all of this to basically ensure the well-being of his family. And I feel like that's something that actually doesn't get emphasized enough because like in the I haven't read the manga, but in the anime at least, they do start to focus a lot on his power and on his leveling up. And unless you like call back to the beginning, you kind of forget what his motivation is. So to be able to draw that kind of attitude from that kind of inspiration, I feel like is really significant because a lot of times when people think about I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my friends, I'm doing it out of love, they think of a much more gentle character.
Yeah,
And I really do love this trend of just like really tough, really rough, really prideful characters who are like, yeah, fuck everybody. I will kill anybody I have to because I love my sister. Like it's kind of
And
dope.
but the thing is, he also loves himself too, and he's confident in himself. He's been left for dead before. That's how he got the power in the
Oh,
first
that's a good
place,
point.
because he was left for dead. So he's like, kind of has that you get what you give mentality. Like, like people is like everyone out for themselves. Like, I got my family. At the end of the day, like those are the people that I'm really rocking with. Those are the people I'm really doing this for. And I love myself too. Like I have pride in what I do as well. Like, you know, and as he starts to work hard and see the fruits of his labor, like, and once his family's good, he makes a certain amount of money to where it's like it's not even really about that anymore. It's squared away. And now he's just doing it because like, he's the strongest one that's has the ability to like stand up and fight for everybody, and he actually does start to enjoy and relish the battle.
Now let's talk about that a little bit because you talked about pride and you talked about self-love, both of which I feel like have that common theme of I have to value myself to a certain extent. Is that something that you feel like plays a big role in competition and athleticism? Like quiet as it's kept, like there has to be part of you that like, you might be motivated to like give a better life to your mom, your teammates, but at the end of the day, you really have to find that self-love within yourself in order to perform on a certain level.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I want my mom to be safe and like have everything that she needs and just be taken care of and have a retirement plan at the end of the day. Like I'm working for kids that I don't have yet. I want to be able to take care of my family should anybody need anything, and just like that's the reason why I do it and be able to give back. But it's like, yeah, I love myself too, and I want to be able to live a certain kind of life, and it's going to take me being successful as an athlete to be able to maintain that lifestyle. So there's definitely part of it too. Like I like clothes. I have some jewelry that I bought. Like I want to buy a little bit more. It's not like I'm gonna get lost in the sauce or anything like that. But it's like for me to act like I don't enjoy any of that stuff, that would be a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
See, that's you controlling your hollow side.
yeah, you know.
um, so have there ever been times where you struggled with self-love at all? And did you notice a difference in your performance when that happened?
Hmm.
I know yesterday we were talking about some of the psychological things that athletes deal with when they're coming back from an injury. And I know that's something that you had to kind of go through.
I mean, kind of, but like at the same time, that's part of the reason why I work so hard. Like, you know, I do take pride in like my work ethic and the work that I put in. So it's like like I don't know. I wouldn't say that I've like struggled with self love like a bunch. That was something that was like kind of trying to find that value in myself, and that's part of the reason why I started to do sports, because it's like, I was just kind of floating around. Otherwise, like just a kid in school, and then it's like, yo, there's something that you could be really good at. You could be great at this, and people would be like, this guy is great at this. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like Michael said, not like so much for the girls or anything like that, but it's just like as I say, even like as a man, like you like a lot of how we identify ourselves is like what we do and like you know what I mean, what we bring to the world and like what we could do for our families and stuff like that. So it's like when you can find something that you're passionate about and something that you can be great at, and you do start to like build a little bit of value for yourself, and you start to view yourself in a different light. You start to gain that confidence.
So if it hadn't been for sports, what do you think you'd be doing? And do you think you would have ever found the kind of confidence in yourself that you have now?
Hmm. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. That's not something that I dwell on a lot. Like I probably would
And
have
luckily
like
you don't have
tried to like get into like engineering or be an inventor or something like that, because I do have like a lot of ideas. I'm a very creative guy, so that was probably what I would have wanted to do. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to like be an engineer and then like segue into like inventing and try and invent like the next, big thing or big contraption that ends up selling for a lot of money. And that probably would have been where I got some confidence from, is like, yeah, I made that. Everyone uses this because I made it. You know what I
so you
mean?
think you're
Like,
that dope in engineering where you could like literally invent things?
no, I don't know anything about engineering. I didn't I didn't end up becoming an engineer. Like I kind of went all in on sports and ended up
But
majoring
you
in
think you could have been though?
sociology. Um, I think so. Like I said, like I had a lot of
Okay.
ideas, like just so many different ideas. So I think that would have been something that was a possibility for me, for sure.
I like the answer. So you consider yourself like, well, do you consider yourself a nerd?
Kind of when it comes to
Kind of.
like anime and whatnot, like I've nerded out quite a bit. Like I said, like looking up the translations of like Zanpakuto and even Soul Reaper, which is what they call it in the show, but like in the Japanese version, it's a Shinigami, which is a god of death, which like then just ties into the concept. I'm like, okay, they're gods, so like everything that they think becomes true. You know what I mean? So like when they start to lose will, like that's has actual confident consequences. Is like when they reflect on themselves and they like get to know themselves even better. That's when they grow stronger. You know, so that like they're self actualizing creatures. So just thinking about things like that for sure. And like yeah, a little bit. I'm kind of a nerd. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I say embrace it. I love it. I love it. And
No, I'm
it's
not. I'm not ashamed of it at all. Like
I'm glad that you mentioned all that because like I go to anime conventions sometimes, and there's a motivational speech that I give, and part of it is based on Bleach, and you're drawing parallels that I didn't even I haven't even thought about. So I'm definitely going to steal part of what you just said. Um, I don't want to keep you too long. Like we've already gone longer than you said you had. So like whenever you need to get off, just be like, "Hey, I'm done. I won't be offended because you've given me a lot of your time, and I appreciate it."
no,
But
it's all good. See, and this is the thing. This is why I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely a nerd because like I lost track of time because I was just enjoying the conversation so much.
well, good because I have another question for
All right.
you. We were talking about cosplay yesterday, and you said that you wanted to do Uzui. And so I was curious, is it because of his style, or is it because you relate to the character, or what's the inspiration behind that?
I mean, as far as we've seen in Demon Slayer, he has the best fight scene in the whole show thus far,
I'll
no
give you that.
question. Um, the flashy style is kind of dope. Even though he's a ninja, he's supposed to be like super low key and quiet. He's just like, fucking, I'm flashy. I'm here. I'm powerful. I'm strong. He got 3 wives, which is dope. I'm like, yeah,
Is that
this
a goal
guy
of
is a pretty.
yours?
He's a pretty cool character. It's not a goal. It's not like realistic, to be honest. I'm not in like a country where we practice polygamy or anything like that. But it's just like,
I
yeah,
mean, I
he
feel like
got
there are
it.
some people who are trying to make that happen.
At the end of the day, I'll
Like,
be
I'm
able to
gonna say,
settle down with one woman. Like, definitely kind of playing the field right now, just as a single guy. But yeah, it's
good
just
answer,
like
good answer.
if you look as a man, you just look at a dude with 3 wives, you're like, that's kind of tough.
I feel like it's definitely becoming a much more common thing for people to at least attempt. Now, I don't know anybody in America who's actually pulled it off. Have you seen the video of the one guy in Japan who's like, he's like the house husband and he's got these 3 wives who are all career women and they all like work and they have kids for him and he just stays home and takes care of the house. Have you seen that video?
I have
Okay.
not.
Yeah. See, that's like my only reference of it in like modern times, like actually working. But like, while I
I seen
know
this
people in
guy.
America who have attempted it or are, I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, we've got a system, we've got it down. But no, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
I mean, besides like rappers and like some certain athletes and whatnot that just will have just a ton of different women in their lives and they're kind of open about it. Like I can
Yeah,
respect that. I'm like,
that does seem
if
like it.
everybody's cool with it, hey, nobody's getting hurt and nobody's getting lied to. So do your thing, bro.
100%. I 100% agree. Um, I do think that's a little bit different than what Uzui was dealing with because, like, he had 3 women who not only were his wives, but like they all hung out together and they fought with him. I'm
Yeah,
like, that's like a pretty big deal. Like that's
like he
commitment
got
right there.
real, like and obviously like he's protecting them too, but they're like contributing to his battles. He's relying on them. Like he got real soldiers in the sense they're like are supporting him in every possible way, And I'm like, that's pretty cool too. That's
Do you feel
definitely
like that's important?
for sure. I mean, even just with one wife and just like one partner, like you need someone that's going to be able to support you in every way that possible. You know what I mean? And you're going to have to do the same for them. That's just like that reciprocation that is necessary for like a working relationship.
Agreed. Let me get to some of the questions in the chat real quick. Um, JV asked earlier if you're a gamer. Are you a gamer too?
Um, haven't been on the game as much lately, uh, but a little bit. Not, I'm not as avid of a gamer as I was like 2022. I was trying to climb the ranks of Jump Force pretty tough. Like I was on there damn near every day, and then on the weekends I was running matches like for hours on end. Um, but I haven't really gotten into like too many games since then. Jump Force is like my favorite game of all time. They took the servers down, so you can't play ranked anymore. It's just like regular quick match. So that motivation isn't as much there as it used to be. But I do enjoy games. Like I'm big into like Assassin's Creed, Mortal Kombat. Love Mortal Kombat. I don't even do it for ranked. I just do it for bragging rights, like in the locker room. Um, and yeah, and you can ask anybody. I got it in the locker room.
How many people are playing Mortal Kombat though? Because I feel like all I ever hear people talk about is like Madden.
Yeah, it's pretty niche. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't like enjoy playing Madden. I play football, like you know.
I get it.
I'm not really looking to get done playing football and then just go play Madden. I'll watch football or like watch film and stuff like that, but it's not an enjoyable game. I'm more of like the fiction type games, like you know, different world building. Let me go experience a different story, like like Assassin's Creed, God of
Escapism.
War, like Elden Ring or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. JB says, who is your main in MK?
Mortal Kombat. Which one? Well,
What-
I like to do like a tier system. I don't venture out outside of like three people. So I got Kung Lao as like my third, right? I'll start with Kung Lao just to see like where you're at. If you beat Kung Lao, then I'll play with Liu Kang, and if you beat Liu Kang, I'm gonna go Scorpion. Scorpion's like that's franchise tag. Write down the number that you need, Scorpion, and flip it over on the table. We'll give that to you, and you're not going anywhere. Like, Scorpion is the face of the organization. I like to say, and that's for Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 1, Smoke. Smoke is my guy.
Okay. So we got Smoke and we got Scorpion. JB says he's Sub-Zero all day.
I
I can
heard that.
respect it. So outside of so we've got gaming, we've got anime. What like is that pretty much take up your free time, or do you actually have time to do other things?
I've been getting into like going out a little bit more. Not going out, but like going to like Mavs games. Went to a Bad Bunny concert. I love live music, so kind of finding that again and starting to kind of go back to that
Yeah, who did
because
you post in your story? Who was that?
I went to a Bad Bunny concert.
Oh, that was Bad Bunny? Okay.
Yeah,
Dope.
didn't know anything he was saying, but for me, you can win me over very easily as an artist if you pick a good beat and you flow on there right. If you pick a good beat and you don't mess it up, I'm in. You know.
So from what you said just now about that and what you said earlier about Bleach, it sounds like you're very much into music.
Yeah, I like music, especially when you like work out and stuff. You got to find like good playlists and things like good vibes for sure.
So Jujutsu Kaisen, what do you think of their soundtrack?
Jujutsu Kaisen, as far as like the music that plays like during or
Yeah,
like the opening themes,
both.
I like their opening themes. They got some of the better ones right now. The theme music is pretty dope too. It's not touching Bleach though. I'm like, I don't think we're gonna see any like Bleach level like just like full package for a while. And honestly, Bleach had to walk so that Jujutsu Kaisen could run. If you think about it, it's a kid just living his life and he gets thrown into something and now he's fighting for his life. It's completely unexpected and now he's just trying to fight to protect himself and his friends. And then they got like pretty cool characters too. They got like the little collab that they did with I think they did a collab with a designer brand where they had like all the characters wearing like different designer and stuff like that, which was cool. But again, like Tate Kubo used to be a designer, which is why like you get all the fashion styles of like Bleach and all those characters. So Bleach had to walk so Jujutsu Kaisen could run for sure.
I agree with that. What I will say about JJK from a storyline perspective, though, is just I feel like there's so many more heartbreaking parts of the story.
He's been
Like,
taking L's.
yeah, like
Like,
Ichigo had a hollow inside of him, but for the most part, he never really hurt anybody. But we
yeah.
saw Sukuna just destroy a whole subdivision just like that.
Hmm.
And then dude came back and he was like, "What did I do?" And like literally had to like live with those memories. I'm like watching this, like, "Oh my god, please stop doing
He
this to me."
remembered all of it.
And then just watching his friends die like that, like
Hmm.
it became too much. And then like they took Toto's hands. I'm like, did
Yeah,
you really have to do that? And then I
they
was really
did.
hoping that
But
he would find some other way to like use his power, and then he couldn't. And I was just like, I hate this show. And I felt like that for like 20 minutes and went right.
yeah, but that fight scene though, that Sukuna fight scene, I'm like, that was pretty tough.
No, it really was. Um,
And his
I've
little
only
theme
had
music that played during the fight, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, a lot of their music is like jazz inspired, so maybe that's why I like it because I'm like a really big jazz music fan. But it's like if you're into more of the like rock style anime things, I can see why you might be more into their openings.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm like, again, gonna circle back to Bleach. Try if you want to, but you can't compete. There's no comparison. Like soundtrack, opening theme, the villains got some dope theme songs. Like Ichigo's theme song number one. It kind of reminds me of
That
Hercules.
is a classic.
Like the way they're singing, and she got like the backup singers in the back. Like it definitely reminded me of like those girls that were on the pot in Hercules, kind of
Yeah.
singing his little theme song too. So I thought that was dope. And then when you look at it, like the way like all the genes that he has mixed in, it is kind of like a Hercules story. He's like born just super cold. Obviously, he has to learn about all his powers and like him basically being a demigod, like you know. But I drew kind of a parallel in that sense too, just with that theme song.
So before we get out of here, what are you going to be watching next? What are you getting into next?
Um, I'm looking for something good right now. I'm not gonna lie. I thought My Hero was dropping new episodes, but it turned out to be like all recaps. So I'm
Hmm.
just waiting on My Hero to come back out. Um, Demon Slayer, I heard, is supposed to drop at some point this year. I'm excited about that. Um, just passing the time with Undead Unluck right now. Um, and then I was watching The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. Kind of fell off with that. I don't like a lot of isekais to be honest, because I feel like they're like a lot of them are repetitive, you know. And
Yeah.
then like, yeah, I feel like if it's repetitive, I'm not gonna like get into it too much. Um, Wish Fire Force would drop a third season. That would be nice, but I'm just waiting on some of the good ones that I really like to start dropping again. So we got like a little gap right now. The thing that I got right now is Jobless Reincarnation. That's about it. But and I mean, that is like people say it's weird just because like in because he was like 36 or something like that when he died, and then like he does fall in love with someone like his actual age, like in the body of like the actual age, like he's like younger when he gets a second chance of life. But it's like, I mean, what's he supposed to do? The dude got a second chance of life. He's just trying to make the most of it, and that's really kind of where I leave that. You know.
So is it like I haven't gotten very far into it. Is it like a relationship situation, or he just has a crush on this person who happens to be older and he's reincarnated as like a kid?
Um, no, like he ends up marrying someone, but like
Oh,
they get married at like 15, right? And that person was born in the world, so like they're 15 in their mind. Whereas like he's older in his head in a 15-year-old's body. And people kind
Oh,
of hang up on that and say it's like really weird. And I'm like, okay, it kind of is, but at the same time, it's like he's just trying to make the most out of the second chance at life that he got. I don't really think about it too much like that. I wish there was a little bit more action, but they kind of like build up to like the actiony parts, and I know exactly where the second half of the season is going because I watched. I mean, I've read already, so I know exactly where it's going to go. So I'm like, that is going to be dope when we get to those fighting parts, and then like they take it really slow as far as like him getting all of his strength and like building up to where he becomes like one of the most powerful people in that world. Whereas like a lot of isekai, they kind of just skip to like the guy being OP, you know?
yeah. I remember you mentioning that earlier. Do you feel like you appreciate that process more because of your own development as an athlete?
Yeah, like definitely show the training. Like don't just skip through that and then now they're super strong or whatever. Like show a little bit of that training. Like that's why I can appreciate like I think next up is the Hashira training arc for Demon Slayer, and it's like yes, show us how they got these upgrades before you just show them, with all these different powers and stuff like that and all these new moves. Like show them training that and show them like making those breakthroughs. That stuff is exciting to watch too.
Yeah, we definitely don't talk about that enough. So, on that note, what are you working on right now? What are you training for? And what do you think you're going to bring to the field this year in terms of upgrades?
Um, I'm just trying to build on the things that I did last year. Just making sure that I'm playing sound football more and more, just working on my technique, making sure it's very consistent. And as long as I do those things, like everything kind of takes care of itself. The effort isn't going to go anywhere, you know. Just working on my football IQ and just learning the defense because we got a whole new defense. So just trying to make sure I'm up to speed with that, and just continue to learn just about the offense a little bit and just continue to sharpen my technique.
Well, we're definitely all looking forward to that, and we appreciate you so much for putting in as much work as you do to keep improving and keep contributing to the team. So, on that note, I think I'm going to go ahead, unless you have something else that you want to talk about before we sign off. I'm
No,
not
I'm
seeing
good.
any
Thank
more
you.
questions from anybody. Are you good?
No, I'm good. Appreciate you.
Okay, I appreciate you as well. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and everybody who's active in the chat. I definitely see all the comments. Much appreciated. We appreciate the engagement. Thanks, JV, for asking some awesome questions. And I'll be back tomorrow with another episode on a completely different topic. But until then, this has been another episode of Bitches Love Sports. I'm Jazz Monet, and I'm out.
Yep. All right. Appreciate you.